In this presentation, I'm going to show you how to build a component in a Helix solution. So it's a great chance for those that already had some conceptual introductions to Helix, how to, in a hands-on approach, how to create a module in this platform, in this architecture. So a bit about myself. My name is Rodrigo Peplau. Uh, I'm working until today as a Sitecore technical team lead and a solution architect. I have 7 years of Sitecore experience at Nonlinear Creations, that how you guys are aware, now became Valtech. Today is my last day, my farewell day at Nonlinear, and I'm proud to be using this old branded PowerPoint templates. I've been twice awarded a Sitecore Technology MVP, 2016 and 2017. And this year we got being proudly a part of the champion team Go Horse. We won the Sitecore Hackathon in the data exchange framework category, which was something amazing for us. All right, so I would like to give you a few links, important links about Helix. The first is the Helix official documentation. I recommend everyone to have a look in a whole look on the Helix documentation. It's not that much. I spend about maybe 6 hours to read everything. And also like to drop a couple videos there. The first is the Helix workshop presented in Sitecore Symposium 2016 in New Orleans. It was a very good one. And the second is the presentation that Roberto Barbedo gave in our Sitecore user group 2000 number 2, second edition. As usual, we'll make available these PowerPoints and all that in the YouTube video description later. Okay, so I will be really brief in this phase about conceptual, because as you guys know, this is not new anymore. Most people are now aware of the concepts, but it's really important to chat about these 3 layers. So the project layer, the feature layer, the foundation layer. The dependencies must always come from top down. So the project layer is the more stable one. I'm sorry, this is the less stable one. So it's where you put your the things you do for the project itself. The feature layer is where your features are going to be implemented. So like if you have a news module, it will be in the middle layer, in the feature layer. And the foundation layer is where you put things that is not going to change very often. Basic things like layout, the layout frameworks that you're going to use, access to data sources, languages, multi-languages, everything that relates to the basis of your project will be in the foundation layer. So here is a small, a better look on how the things will be organized in Helix. So each of those 3 layers you have several modules. You can have, like we show here, groups of modules. It's just logical group, you know, not actually a physical group, but helps you keep the semantic of your application good in terms of grouping them. And those arrows you're seeing here are the references. So basically, one of the benefits of this architecture is avoiding circular references. For those that at least once in your life got into trouble with circular references, or not exactly circular references, but crazy references. So projects referencing to not obviously to others. And this architecture comes to solve that issue. So basically, you have modules, referencing modules, and like you see here, you never use a reference among the same layer, always to the top to bottom. There are some exceptions. You can have feature layers, a feature module referencing to other feature module. That's more common when you have them inside a group. However, it's you want to avoid that. Okay, next. What is this demo solution? I'm going to implement you something from scratch, but I'm not starting from scratch itself. I have a solution in place. What is this solution? So I'll put available this solution. It's now on TFS at Visual Studio Online, but I'm opening that to GitHub, and I will make the link public for everyone. If you're too anxious to get access to that, too excited, you can ask me for access, and I will provide you. That's unfortunate that TFS cannot be public. It is a Helix-compliant solution, but not based in a Habitat solution, but with several inspirations, let's say, stealing itself, okay? So I based myself in a Helix, in a Habitat solution, but started from scratch. One important difference in my solution is that the feature layer is renamed to bases. I made that choice because I wanted to have the layers alphabetically organized. It's just a personal choice. You don't have to follow that. Differently than the standard Habitat solution, this solution doesn't use Unicorn, but TDS. So we are using TDS both to do the serialization and the publication of everything to the final website folder. And it's based on Sitecore 8.2 Update 3. It's basically based in a fresh Sitecore installation installed with Sitecore Instance Manager and populated by my Visual Studio solution with the help of TDS by using the solution deploy command. It's a command that you guys will see during the demo. Oops. Okay, so what is exactly the module the component we're going to build? The component we are going to build looks like this. It is basically easy to explain. It has a picture, a title, a subtitle, and 3 links to social media. Okay. And of course, you can place more than one in the same placeholder to have an effect like this, but they are separated, like you can see here. Because of Bootstrap, it's a Bootstrap template. It is automatically going to adjust your mobile phone, like you're seeing here. And these are the things that you have in your component: a picture, a name, a role, and the links to the 3 social medias. Okay? Now, let's have a look on the artifacts that we are going to implement during this demo. So basically, I am separating the 3 layers here. We'll start with 3 base components. They are at the basis layer, also known as a feature foundation layer. So we have Sitecore basis alerts to give us a good-looking alerts on the screen. The Sitecore basis dictionary for dictionary handling, and Sitecore basis extensions, which has some fancy extensions to help assist during the implementation. And we have our, so what you have in gray is actually code projects, and you have in blue is TDS projects. So in the feature layer, we're going to create a Sitecore feature team member module where our code to build the component will be stored. And we have 2 other TDS projects that we are going to create we are going to use and update during the during the demo at the project layer. So they are basically two TDS projects to store items in that place. And here we're going to see a little bit what lies in each of these components, in each of these projects. So in the team member, we are going to have our controller and our view. Okay, this is code that will be in the Sitecore feature team member project. In the team member master, the TDS projects, we are going to store our rendering, the media library, the icons of the media library, and the template, the single template that is going to have our fields. So name, role, Facebook, LinkedIn, so on and so forth, right? But this is a Helix principle. Have that template in that template that I'm creating here. We traditionally use that directly as a data source. But in this case, we're not going to do this. We're going to progress and create the two templates in the common website master TDS project. So we'll have team members, which is actually a folder for team members, and the team member itself, which is the data source template. Okay? In the Helix website master, which is the one, Helix website master is the one from my project, from my implementation itself. So what I'll have there is the place to put my data source items. So, you know, the repository itself. The data source repository, we have also the points to, we have here something in the middle to determine what is the data source template and the data source location of my component, okay? So we traditionally do this all together, and here we are splitting in different parts. After the demo, I can respond to some questions about and doubts about why we picked those places to place our things. And here you have arrows showing the references. So the team member references the three base projects. The Sitecore website master inherits the points to the template itself because it creates items based in that template, correct? The Sitecore common website master points to that template in the team member master because it inherits from that. So basically, instead of using directly the team member template, we are creating a separate template with a good looking icon and all that, that inherits from that. And we are using that instead. Dependencies. I said references. Dependencies. Thank you. Okay, demo time. Now is the time of the truth. Let's pray to the demo gods. I would like to say that the proper sacrifices has been already provided. So if demo gods are not good with us, it's not my fault. Okay. So I will start by telling you and with slides what we are doing. And in this first step, you see a ribbon in the top showing that we are in the feature layer. Okay. So we are going to create in the feature layer what? Create our projects. Create the components project and the TDS master project, and set up TDS projects to deploy component projects. Okay, so where's my Visual Studio? Here we are. I need to open the solution, of course. Okay. So as you can see, I'm going to stay in the feature layer. We have a folder for that. And to save time, I already created the project itself, but it's empty, like you can see. Things I've done so far is to set up the web config as build action none, so it's not deployed when I do a deployment, the two web configs, and added the references that I need, so to sitecore kernel and the internal references dependencies. Okay, so that one is done. Next, we are going to, oh, let me just check one thing. It's important. I need to know if my TDS project, yes, it is set up to deploy from this project. You may see that we have tons of TDS projects everywhere, where usually we have only one or two during our solutions. And how do we make sure we are deploying to the same place? Instead of going to the project itself and doing the setup, we have a single configuration file. We call it tdsglobal.config, and you can specify here the places the place it is pointing to, and automatically all the TDS projects are going to use this setup. It's pretty quick. All right, so back to the presentation. We are going now to create a data source template. We'll start with that. We're going to create the template, and the one that has all that fields, okay? So let me bring up the project, the solution itself. As you can see in the content editor, we also have to respect the layers. So I have created a layer folder here. And the place where I'm going to place to store my new template is, of course, in the feature layer. So I will create here a team member folder, and then create a new template. In the Helix, we always start with underscore. The template there is going to be used as a data source for that component. Why underscore? Is to say that this template must never be used directly, but instead, it should be first inherited by another template, and that template in specific will be used. So this is like a base template. Great, so here's my template. Is a single line role, is a single line picture. Picture is an image. Twitter, the general link. Also general link. And last but not least, LinkedIn, which is also a general link. Then I save it. You can see I'm not creating a standard values because that will lie actually in the template that inherits from this one, not here. What I will do is indeed to add the template to TDS. So I will select everything here and add to TDS. $20 minutes so far. All right. We are going to create the component rendering, the rendering itself. We are going to upload the component thumbnail to the media library, create that in the controller assembly and the action, setting the data source location as site team member. And this got funny because instead we're usually at the component itself, we are setting up the data source location. we are doing this differently here. Instead of setting directly the data source location, the component, we have a helper that let us determine different locations for different sites. So you can have one site that component pointing to a place, site pointing to a second place. So it's extended, it makes things more extensible and flexible. We'll set the thumbnail and of course add to the TDS project. Okay, so let's do it. I will start by uploading. Let me open media library. Uploaded the icon, the thumbnail to here. So the place I will place this is layout layer feature. I will again create a new folder here, team member, and just upload the file. There you go. You have it uploaded. It looks good. All good. Next, we are going to create the rendering. So let's create it. Layouts. Oh, sorry. Rendering. And again, I have to create it here. Layers, feature, team member. The good part of this always that everything is separated into their own scope, which is much easier to control. So let's create a controller rendering. I'll call it team member. Okay. To make it quick, I will paste here the assembly to the controller and the action index. Okay. I will scroll down and in the data source location, I will place site team member. It's correct. Good. And last but not least, this is the funny part. We are going to set, oops, sorry, I need to show the standard fields. To set the presentation appearance. Where is that? Appearance. Thumbnail. There you go. I will paste here to save some time. Good. So I have my component. My component is ready to be used. And again, I will add it to the TDS project. So I have to put in the TDS project the new media just uploaded, as well as the rendering. There you go. For those who are used to build a component in Sitecore, it's not big deal. It's just a matter of knowing where to put the things. That's the big secret. Nothing different from just a normal Sitecore development. Cool. Step 3, the code generation. That's a good part. So we are going to create a code generation file using Sitecore rocks, slightly change the code template, and drag the template from Sitecore Explorer to that, and check if the code is good. So let's go. So this is the fun part. I'm going to create a new item here. This is possible because I have Sitecore rocks installed. So code generation template, I'll call it templates. This gives you free code generation. I would just slightly change the template and add namespace templates. So I have templates in my namespace. Now I'm going to open Sitecore Rocks. Not responding. There you go. And grab the template, my template, the one that I created for the component. By doing this and saving, you can see that you have already some code generated with all the constants that you need and all that things. Okay? Cool. So that was step 4. Step 5, we're going to create a controller. Just to create the file itself, add the data source validation to it. We are using here a pattern that I stole from Habitat, where all the components have a common data source validation. So if the data source is not set up, it will show a good looking warning telling you so. And pass the rendering by as a parameter, as a model to the view. So this is what the controller will do. So let's do it. Again, back to Visual Studio. I will create a new controller, an empty one, and I will call it team member controller. Cool. So let's start it. Let me increase here so you can see it. The first part, it's pretty simple. The first part of the controller, I would just paste this where I'm doing the validation. So let me add all the references. Good. So what I'm doing here, if the current rendering data source is empty, it means that the data source item is not set. If that's the case, we are just, if in Experience Editor mode, we are showing to the user, to the content editor, some phrase, you know? And the phrase by default is no data source assigned. But you can create easily a dictionary item in this path and customize that. And that's based on your site. You can have in one site your phrase being no data source assigned, and in the other site your phrase being please add a data source. Okay. And last but not least, passing this is only going to be reached if the first validation is not done. So we are passing the view, the item, the data source item to the view as a model. That's it. Let me run. Now we are going to create the view itself. The file, pass the HTML markup to Bootstrap template, add reference to code generated because we need the templates, the IDs. Add model type to the Sitecore MVC presentation, so it's just a declaration, and the few renderings themselves. Okay. So back to here. We create the view, of course. New view. "30 minutes so far. Team member. It's an empty one. I don't want to use any layout. So that's my view. I will just quickly copy and paste the markup of the component, just an empty markup for now, okay? Let me just do a small adjustment here. Good. So let's also add a reference at the beginning here, because I want my template, the code generated, to be referred here. Let's add a model type and add some few renderings. Okay, the first few rendering I will place is the picture. So I will just replace this by this. And like, as you can see, let me hide this. As you can see, I'm also preserving the classes by adding them here. Field renders. Here as well. Okay, so the title, that was the title, the name. And here I will place the role and the links. So we'll do that massively, like monkey job. Okay, nothing fancy. Here's Twitter, here is Facebook, LinkedIn. Cool, our view is done. Step 7, we are creating now the project templates. So here is the funny part. The thing that we are not used to do is where we create the team member, the data source template itself. We are inheriting from the underscore team member and add the standard values so we can put a name at the dollar name at the name field. And we are going to create as well the folder for the storage with a standard value just to set insert options. Okay, let's go for it. So back to the templates, but now I'm working in a different layer. I'm working the project layer. So in the common content types, here's where I'm going to create my 2 templates. I will start with the team member. I will call it team member. And inheriting from that one that we created. Cool. Let's have it have an icon. Where is that? Right here. So adding a new standard values because I want to have dollar name in the field. Okay. And now adding the second template, which we'll call team members in the plural. This is not going to inherit from anything. Will be just our storage, our folder. So let me give it as well a good looking now icon and create the standard value so I can simply set the other template as standard options, so as insert options. Team member. Fair enough. Okay, so step 8. Now that we have all that in place, we are going to add the placeholder settings. So it's easy. We are just saying that in a predefined placeholder, that component is going to be placed, is allowed to be placed, and then add everything to TDS. So let's do it. Placeholder settings. There is a section placeholder, and I'm just adding my new component to that placeholder settings. Oh, sorry. And then add everything to TDS. But now my TDS project already exists. You remember we are in the project layer. Let me show again that ribbon there in the top, project layer. So what I'm going to do is much easier. I am just going to synchronize the common TDS project, or simply synchronize everything from the top of the solution. Let me show you that. So that's what TDS found. My placeholder uploaded, modified, and the 4 templates, the 2 templates and standard values that we created. We have now everything at the TDS. Okay. Step 9, creating the repository items. So let's just create some items there. The root folder, upload some team member pictures to the media library, and add a couple team members below it. So where is that? Cool. So I will start with the content. We have here Helix Global, and I'm going to create the repository from for my data source items here. Insert from template. I will pick the team members in the plural. This will be the root of my content items. There you go. Let's upload some more pictures. Project. I will store this in project Helix images, and then create a new folder here. Team member. It may be confusing for some people why I picked this layer, not the other layer. We can discuss that after the demo. So let's upload the 3 pictures. Diana, Kay, and Larry. There you go. Now let's add some guys here. I will start with Kay Garland. This guy is a lead design, just adding some content to it. Pasting the picture of this folk. And I'm going to be rude here, I'm sorry for that, but I will just place some valid links to it in the role value itself. I'm not bothering now to the real thing. So we are good with the first. Now the second, Larry Parker. Larry Parker is a lead marketer, has this good looking picture, And again, being rude and adding some valid links to it. Nice. So now I have the content items as well. I have two of them. Step 10, we are creating the data source mapping. This is interesting. So instead of, like I mentioned in the beginning, instead of having the component pointing to the data source location, we are going to create a mapping item with the name of team member, set up the data source location and the template, and add everything to TDS. So this is the small difference. In Helix, basically because of Habitat, where I grabbed this, we'll have under settings a folder called data source. And this is where you can set at the scope of your site a different data source. I will call it team member. And set the data source location to this place. So I'm pointing to global, right? To this place. And the data source template to this. That is good. And then let's synchronize again. Missing a project because it's not there yet. "42 minutes." But we are almost there. Only 2 steps left. Good. All right. So we have almost everything. What we need to do this now is to deploy the code. So we're just compiling the feature module and deploying use TDS. And then let Sitecore wake up after the deployment. So I'm going back to here and compile my feature module. So I pick this, build my module. And then deploy, right-clicking the TDS project and deploy. Deploy succeed. I will wake up our Sitecore, but I will not make you wait for that. Let's review the last phase, which is plug and pray. What we are going to do after the Sitecore loads is to open the home in Experience Editor mode, add a new section where I can place my component, add a text and a subtext to the section, add a couple members to the internal placeholder, and save the page. And then we are going to add a third member, an empty member. Look at that, Sitecore is behaving. Maybe we can wait. But that's not an issue because I have another instance of that. This is all the respect that I demonstrate to the demo gods. So in here, you can see our component already there. So it's basically pretty compatible with the content editor, but I want to proceed with the same, with our script, sorry? Experience editor. It is a long time when we call that content editor or page editor. All right, so this is not the demo. This is my good thing. Okay, so now it has the component that we just built, and I can go ahead and do a smart publish. Oh, sorry, I picked the wrong one. Publish site, doing a smart one. It won't take longer than that. All right, so now is the real thing. I will switch to the edit mode, experience, let it load. As soon as it loads, I am following my script and add a new section. I will place the section right beside, right above this component. So Florian, I guess you like this. It's a section that doesn't have anything on this. I will just go there and add its properties to have an identifier, to have a title. I know I'm getting polemical here. Some people won't add content to the section itself, to the component itself, but I am not like anyone. Okay. Okay, this is not the component we built, but just a section to store our component. I will save my page. And then finally add one of our components there. So I will pick K first. Oops. I've seen that happening before. I will add another one. Larry Parker. I will save the page. And then I will add now a new one. So we have the whole experience. 49 minutes so far. I apologize for the long time it's taking. Create a new one, and I call it Diana. And it's almost everything there for you to go ahead and Diana. What else? She's a lead designer. Oh, I've seen problems with that once. So I'm okay. And that's it. Let me just refresh this, Diana. So it now looks good. If I open in the preview mode. And I will also do a publish. Again with Smart Publish. So we can check that in publish mode. So this is our website. I'll click on team to see our amazing team. Oops. There you go. Oh, well, I placed in the wrong placeholder, but that's fine. It's not looking good, but that's fine. Well, boys, that was all for today. I'll open for questions. Who wants to make questions? Let me just switch to the other microphone in this meantime. I guess that's it. Hello, let me see if it's working. Hey. No, not working? Hey. Okay, yeah, let's use this. I guess it's not an issue. Who wants to make a question? Anderson?
Yeah, just a second. You finish your presentation?
Yes. Thank you.
First of all, great presentation. And I would like to know when, it's a question about TDS. When you do the global syncing, how does TDS knows which item goes to which project? Because there are many TDS projects in there.
All right, like I mentioned, we have a global configuration for everything. So all projects, all TDS projects will be deploying to the same website target. But this is not your question. When you do a sync inside core or in TDS in a single project, what it does? It will monitor the projects that are added to the TDS project, correct? If the parent node is set to sync all children, then you have new children and you sync, it will show new items to be added to the project, correct? This is the same here. So every TDS project will have their own own items inside of it. So inside common website master, you have the layout, the layers, the rendering. Here you have the content itself, the data source items, right? So when you do a sync here, a global one, it will actually just look for every project inside their own, every project, the items that are inside of them. So I just did a sync and look what happens. It found that I have changes, but in this case, it's just in the same project, Helix website content. So I have modifications in the items and a new one that I just created during the demo. So I'm going to add those as well. Is that responding to your question?
So it does rely on the fact that the parent is there already, right?
Yes, exactly. It relies on the parent and the setting that that parent has. So if your parent, let's say the layout render layers here, F4, you open F4, it has a no child synchronization. It can be set to keep all children synchronized. So in this case, anything under this will not be added, but under this, I bet will. So keep all children synchronized. It all depends on that setting.
Should all the assembly names start with sidecar?
Yeah, that's one. Like I mentioned, I inspired myself in habitat, which is using Sitecore at the beginning. However, that should not be the case in a habitat, in a Helix solution. It should be, instead of Sitecore at the beginning, you should have your client's name. So in this case, I would be much better if I would have placed Helix instead of Sitecore. So it would be helix.common.website instead of Sitecore. Anything else? No? Let me just, so,
One correction to do.
Go ahead.
In your slide, in the beginning, you said that you put basis as feature, but use the as instead of foundation. So you might want to correct that.
Foundation is base.
Yeah.
Feature is base. It's foundation.
The feature layers renamed to basis. You want to change that?
Sorry.
Just this correction, but great presentation. Thank you.
Good one. That was just to make sure you are paying attention. Okay, I guess it's important maybe to tell you why we picked some of these layers. So why we add to my feature foundation, my module, you know, with that underscore template. Let me close all that, right? And why I don't use this? Because you want reusability. So you can have the same module being used by different sites, you know? So the feature that we implemented is here. And the TDS items that behaves to that implementation are here. Basically just the template and the fields, the respective fields, correct? However, when you want to use it, we are not going to use directly that template. We are going to create templates. In this case, we choose to put in the common project, because the common is like, imagine in a multi-tenant site when you have several sites with the same branding, with the same appearance. So you have a common project for that, to place everything that is common for them. And that includes the templates with the templates that we created, team members, right? Which is actually inheriting from the base one, right? And in your project scope, we have a common TDS project here, where you're going to add the things that are related to your project, like the mapping item. Remember the mapping item? Why? Because in your site, you can have in site A, your component using a template or adding items to content items to a certain place, while in the other project, in the other website, it has a separate repository for that. So you can have the same component. In order to have that without this, we will have to duplicate the component, right? As well as the items themselves. So if you have some demo items to your site, you put them under at the project level layer under your website project. I guess that's it. Anything else? Or anything at the YouTube video? No?
No, but I think it's valid to ask.
Okay, anybody at the line at the YouTube chat that wants to paste or type any question, let us know.
Yeah, so guys here in YouTube are talking about TDS and Unicorn. Do you have any opinion for this Helix project?
Yes, Unicorn is states very boldly that they don't want to rival. They're not a rival or a replacement for TDS. Unicorn is just serialization. So, and it's free, of course. So and while in the other hand, TDS is paid and does, like in my opinion, a better job on doing comparisons inside Visual Studio, because Unicorn relies on a web page for that. And more than that, TDS also does fancy things like code generation and deployment. So you guys saw that I'm using TDS here to do the deployment as well. And that Unicorn doesn't do. Instead, they use Goop for doing the deployment, which is a second tool. I have nothing against tools and nothing against using a bigger number of tools in conjunct to do the same thing. But we recently won hackathon and got 1 year license of TDS. So I have 1 year excuse to not to keep using TDS.
Okay, I think we don't have any other questions so far.
Let's get going.
Yes, you guys at the line, unfortunately, won't be able to follow us,